Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Get Productive with iPad video course from the Apple Regional Training Centre. My name's Susan, thanks for joining me again today. In today's video we're going to have a look at Keynote and iMovie and how you can use the features of those Apple tools to really improve productivity, not just for yourself but also for your students. So Keynote is in my dock down at the bottom there on the far right hand side, and we're going to start with having a look at some of the features of Keynote. So let's go in and do that now. As you can see, when I first come into Keynote, it opens up my recent presentations. I'm going to go up to the top right hand corner and press on the plus, which lets us start a new presentation. Now I can choose from a whole range of different templates there, or I can create my own. I'm just going to go for a new basic one at the moment. Now, some of the features of Keynote I'm sure will come as no surprise to you, and they will be very familiar to you if you have used Microsoft PowerPoint, which I'm sure almost all of us have. Today's video is focused on productivity, and therefore we're not going to go over the basics of Keynote today. I do want to highlight to you where you can find out more information about getting started with Keynote. If you go into the little ellipsis, the dot up in the top right hand corner of your screen there, and press on that, you can see, very similar to in part 1 when we were looking at the numbers help, we can press on there and go to Keynote help, and we get a very similar user guide coming up on the screen. That will help you really get started with Keynote, take you through how to create your first presentation, get you familiar with the tools and the editor in Keynote. As I say, lots of the functions are very similar to those in PowerPoint, but as with many of the Apple tools, there's a lot more functionality built in. The different tools speak to each other really well, and there's always that capacity for you to do more than just use it as a presentation tool. So if you're not familiar with Keynote, please do go in and familiarise yourself with that user guide, because that will get you up to speed really quickly with what you need to know in order to create your own presentations and projects. What we are going to focus on today is some flashcards. So I'm going to go into this computational thinking tab here, and I'm going to press the triangle button up in the bar at the top there, which is the play button, which plays the presentation. Now, what I'd like you to do is to imagine that over the last number of weeks, my class have been working on computational thinking as part of a computer science unit. And to reinforce those key concepts, I as a teacher decided to create personalised flashcards. So let's have a wee look at the flashcards now. And to do that, to play this presentation, I'm just going to click through by touching the right hand side of the screen. So you can see there on the second page, I've got a word list there with some options, and I could click straight through to those using the hyperlinks, or I can go forward. So here we go, we've got algorithms, and on the back there's a definition of algorithms and a sentence. On to the next one for debugging. Very similar format, there's a definition and then a sentence. And lastly, sequences. And here it is, a definition and then a sentence. Now, one of the really useful things about Keynote is that you're able to create a master copy and share it with students using AirDrop. So you could have created these flashcards and then you could have dropped them using AirDrop over onto your students' iPads, so they were then able to add to them or to use them for their revision. You can also duplicate and customize the cards to use them in many different learning contexts. So let's go on and do that now. If I go back to my front screen there that shows you my recent presentations, if I press and hold on the computational thinking one, you see I have got the option there to duplicate. Now what that means for you and for your students is we can create an exact copy of that flashcard presentation, and we can then use it for different learning contexts just by customizing it. So let's go in and look at how to do that. So I'm going to press on duplicate, and you can see it's opened it up as another version. And if we go in and open this now, and in the top right hand corner go to edit, we're able to change what the context of these flashcards is going to be all about. So I can, just by pressing on the text there, I can take out the title and I can rename it, for instance, grammar. Then if I go on to the second slide, again, the same thing. I can press on it. I don't need to take the link out, but I can change the name and maybe change it to adjectives. I can go on to the one below, and instead of debugging, maybe we would like that to be called nouns. And instead of sequences this time, I can make this be verbs. So again, if we go through and look at the one that was previously the algorithms and take that out, change the title to adjectives. Then on the reverse of the card, I can change what the definition on there would be. So I won't go through and do all of it, but you get the idea that for yourself or for your students, once they have got that basic template, they don't have to start from scratch again the next time they want to use it for something similar. They can just duplicate it and go in and customise it to how they would like it to be. All of this is fully customisable, so again, if I just highlight on that picture there that's been drawn in the sketch, I can just delete that and take it out. I can replace it with something else by going to the plus symbol up in the bar at the top there and choosing drawing. And then you can see I've got my tools there. So perhaps I want to draw in so if I wanted to draw in a different image for adjective, whatever that might happen to be, then I would be able to just put that in, and then it becomes an object that I'm able to move around however I would like to do that on the screen. The bar up at the top in Keynote kind of gives you everything that you need to know. So the paintbrush is your editor. You're able to go in and have a look at the options that are available to you in there in terms of what you can do in the organising of the slides. The plus button we had a quick look at there, we'll go back in. You can see some of the things you're able to add into your slides there. You can also add shapes, charts and tables, similar to in the numbers tool. Here you've got a collaboration option. So if you wanted to have a group of students working on the same presentation, there are options for that here. The ellipsis has every other thing you could possibly want to know, whatever that might be. All of those things are in there, all of your additional options. And then up here, if we press the very last one, we can go into a viewing screen where we're able to just look at what the cards would look like during the presentation without having the edit tools available. Another really useful feature of Keynote is that you can add links. So as we saw earlier, if I was to press on each of those links, it would take me to that title page. We can also do that inside of slides. So for instance, if this was going to be our flashcard all about adjectives, maybe I would like to add in a help video to help me remember what an adjective is. So in order to do that, I can press my home button and come out of Keynote for a second. And if I go onto the internet using Safari, you can see I have already found an all about adjectives video that I would like to link to. So to do that, I would just press and hold on the bar at the top there, and I'm going to copy the link, press the home button to come back out, and then go in to Keynote again. And then where I've typed in help video, if I just highlight that like this, you can see it gives me an option, and the option I'm looking for is to link. Now initially it comes up with the option, you can see there, link to slide. So if I press on, if I wanted to, I could link this slide to another slide later or earlier in the presentation, which is what the ones we looked at on slide number 2, that's what they were doing. They were linking to a slide later in the presentation. If I press on the word slide, you can see it gives me the choice to link to something else. So we want to link in this instance to a web page. And if I press there where it says link, I'm able to press and hold and paste in the link for my video. Now if we go ahead and play the presentation from that slide, when I press on help video, you can see it takes us to that video. Okay, so we're going to go on now and look at another option with Keynote. This time I would like you to imagine that over the last number of weeks my class have been taking part in a number of problem solving activities in maths. And this activity is going to focus on students planning journeys around London, documenting their learning and reflecting on their progress. So by using the annotation tool in Keynote, we can demonstrate thinking and draw attention to particular elements on the screen. We can then capture screenshots of this learning and integrate it into a larger project. So let's go in and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to open up this presentation. And if you have a look, you can see here, if I play it, it's saying here's our own version of the underground and the task is to work in pairs to solve these 3 problems. Use the camera app of your iPad to document and record a short video of how you solved each problem. So the task has been set up for the students inside of Keynote and it's been airdropped over to them so that they're able to work on it. What we're going to do is we're going to go in and have a look at the first problem. And this one says, you want to travel from the hotel to the stadium, what landmarks would you pass on the way? So you can see there I've already started to annotate onto that slide and I'm going to show you how I did that. To do that, I'm just going to pinch my fingers together, which brings us out of the presentation, and up at the top there where it says plus, I'm going to go into drawing just like we did earlier, and then I am able to make this a little bit bigger so that I can see what I'm doing. And I can choose my tool down at the bottom here and make it as thick or as thin as I want it to be. And then I'm able to actually draw directly onto the slide. So you want to travel from the hotel to the stadium, what landmarks would you pass on the way? So here we are at the hotel, and let's have a look and see what we would pass. I'm going to take out my previous annotation just so we're starting from scratch. So if I'm at the hotel here, I have to follow the underground lines. I'm not able to jump across if there's not a dotted white line for me to do that. So I might want to start here at the hotel and go over to the beach, then to the aquarium, then over to the stadium. Or I might decide that alternatively, I'm going to choose a different colour so you can see the difference. Maybe I would want to go the long way round and go to the Science Museum, down to the park, the big wheel, the waterfront, and then jump my way across there, town hall, aquarium, stadium. So there are different ways that you can solve that problem. When I finished annotating the slide in the top right hand corner, I just press done, and those annotations stay on the screen. Now to have a screenshot of that so that I've shown the different ways that I might want to solve the problem. We learned about this in a much earlier video. If you're not sure how to complete a screenshot on your iPad, all you're going to do is press the power button and the home button at the same time, like this, and it makes your little screenshot picture just there, and that heads straight over into your camera roll. So we'll come back to that in a minute. We're just going to go forward onto the next slide now. Going to move forward onto the next slide now, and here is problem number 2. Setting off from the hotel, what is the least amount of stops you can make? Setting off from the hotel, what is the least amount of stops you can make on the way to visit the warship? So again, up to that plus sign, into drawing, and I can use that annotation tool to record my thinking. So starting at the hotel, we're trying to get to the warship, which is just here, and I'm starting from the hotel, which is here. So let's have a look and see what we could do. We could go this way, round the red line and over and in. I can choose a different colour and see if I can do it in fewer steps. Perhaps I would go this way and go in like so. So you get the idea. Students are able to show on the screen what their thinking is and how they are choosing to tackle the problem. Again, we can just screenshot that by pressing the power button and the home button, and that we then have a quick picture of that learning. So now we are going to have a look at using iMovie to arrange those clips that we collected from Keynote and see if we can produce a presentation explaining what we learned during that problem solving task. I'm just going to slide my finger along the playhead. That is a little introduction video that I just filmed really quickly. And then after that, we have got the two screenshots that we had taken. Now I'm going to very briefly show you here how we can do a quick bit of formatting to get these photos looking the way we want them to and add a voiceover. If you're new to iMovie, please go and have a watch of the Part 2 Get Creative with iPad video course. Part 2 focuses almost exclusively on iMovie, and it will take you through the basics if you haven't used it at all before. So we're just going to scoot over things here quite quickly. But if you're not familiar with it, as I say, please do go and watch that video, and it takes it at a much slower pace. So I'm going to go on to the first photo that we put on first of all, and I'm going to disable the Ken Burns effect so that I can have the whole image on the screen at once, just like that, and it's not going to move when I do that. Now I'm going to slide my finger along the playhead to make the photo be on the screen for longer, and then I'm going to go ahead and film a little voiceover to go alongside it, just by pressing and holding on the microphone button. If you remember from a previous video, if you were with me for that, I can just hit record and it will move and play along the photo, and it will add my voice to that. So we could add ourselves in a little voiceover explaining exactly what happened, explaining our thinking around that question 1. We could go on and do the same, exactly the same for question 2, and then at the end there, also add in a little closing video, just using the plus sign at the top right hand corner. And going into videos there, I can choose from my media selection the little finishing video just by selecting it and hitting the plus button to drop it in there. You can also go up to the cog symbol next to the plus sign, and we can turn on fade in from black and fade out to black just to make it look a little bit more professional. I could also add a title slide at the beginning if I wanted to. So very quickly, your students are able to make a presentation that explains their thinking. They can put that together without any trouble at all on their own device and then airdrop that over to you in order for you to see. Let's have a look at the finished presentation. Hi, my name's Susan, and today we've been learning about planning journeys around London. Today I learned there are different ways to solve a problem. There was often more than one route, and the key was finding the shortest journey possible. In this problem, I had to work out how to travel from the hotel to the stadium and what landmarks I would pass on the way. So initially, you can see from the white route, I went past the beach and the aquarium, and then on my second try, I went from the Science Museum and the park all the way around the red line and then cut across. In this problem, I had to work out what was the least amount of stops I can make on my way to visit the warship. So first of all, I circled the hotel, and then I circled the warship, and then I worked out using 2 different colours what was the route I could take that used the least number of stops. And I discovered there was more than one option. So as you can see, this exercise has helped us to establish that there are more than one way to solve a problem. We discovered that there were different options that you could take in order to speed up the route or to pass by particular landmarks. So we're almost at the end of this video course. There's just 2 other quick little tips that I would like to mention. The first one is App Switcher. So this is a really useful little gesture that's helpful to know when you're working with your iPad, and that is if you press the home button rapidly twice, just like that, it takes you to the app switcher. So that opens up the 6 last apps that you were in. So you can see there's the 6 last ones that I was in. I can actually scroll back a bit further and it'll take me back to other ones that I was in previously before that. So it's a really quick way of getting to apps without having to scroll across your homepage lots of times to find them. If I was to press into one of those, for instance, if we wanted to go into photos, I could just tap on it and it would take me directly into that app. So that's the app switcher. Quick double press on the home button to activate that one. The other one is the app slider, which I have talked about in previous videos. So if for instance we were in Keynote and we wanted to have another app simultaneously on the screen, if I pull up slowly from the bottom of my screen, if I just do it slowly so that I bring up the dock and then put my finger onto the app that I want, press and hold on it, I'm able to drag it up. You can see it opens up side by side with the other app. There's a little grey slider bar in the middle, so I can decide if I want to have one bigger or one smaller, if I want to have both of them on the screen. So that's just a quick little tip that I hope you find useful in terms of the gestures you can use to activate or to access your apps in a way that works best for you. In this video course, we've looked at numbers, we've looked at Keynote and also at iMovie and how you can use those Apple tools to be productive yourself and also to help your students to be productive. As I said earlier, I really think that the iPad is an amazing tool for learning, and using all of these different parts of it to their fullest capacity really will help you get the most out of it for yourself and for the students in your class.